Hello everyone, I have a new pattern to show you all. This is the sitting bunny pattern, and in this video I want to go over how the leg seams are put together. To get started, we have a front body piece, two back pieces that sew down the spine, and here we have this gap. For that we have this hip piece, and then we also have some arms to sew in. Pop the back pieces aside for now, we'll do the arms first. It's a very quick seam, we just want to match up and sew the top shoulder down to the armpit, inside out of course. I went ahead and hand sewed the arms together and did it for the back pieces too. This is a bit fiddly, and if you decide that you would rather take the front and the back and skip the arms entirely and just sew down the sides and then put the arms together separately to sew them on by hand later, I would not blame you. You want to make sure you clip this area really well, clip the ends and then remove the bulk where you can. The next step is to put the sides together. We need these 2 points connected so that we can put the hips in. It's a bit tricky because we've got this small neckline here and then we need to go around the arm and down the side, so we'll start pinning. This is why we want to clip the armholes well. It helps maneuver the arms and keeps it tidy while lining everything up. When machine sewing, I'm going to start here and come up the arm, round to the neck. Then I'll take it out, repin the other half, and go from the sides and up to the rest of the arm. I did baste these seams just for extra security. For the first draft of the bunny pattern, the armholes were way too small, so I redid them, making sure I could at least get my fingers through to make stuffing and turning easier. I still recommend hemostats or turning tools to help. This is how we're looking. We've got this tummy, arms, and a big gap here. Let's move on to the legs. Another fun story is I drafted 2 pieces for the hips based on my Zigzagoon plush. There was an outside hip piece and this inside piece, but because it was so much smaller, I merged them. Then, while I was drawing up the final pattern, I saw another artist polka doll with a much simpler hip piece. I thought about reworking it, but I didn't want to do it with someone else's doll so fresh in my brain. I might come back another time and make an alternative piece as a bit of an update. So I'm just going to hand sew these darts, starting at the top of the first dart. It's starting to curve, and then we just need to fold over the second dart to meet the first. Clip the excess up at the top. It's starting to take on the rounded shape. The last dart is at the bottom, and I won't put you through watching that, so let's move on to actually inserting the hip. Opposing curves can be hard to sew, so I've made sure there's plenty of markers to help us line it up, kind of like checkpoints along the seam. The bottom corner of the front body seam matches up with the bottom dart on the hip. Then there's a checkpoint here, sort of at the midpoint between the bottom and the top of the hip. This top point where the darts meet should line up with the side seam on the body. Another checkpoint in the middle of the back half. And then finally this corner lines up with this one to complete the body. I've anchored my thread at the top in the centre. I'm going to baste this seam to help keep my final seams nice and accurate. Tying off the first stitch through both sides keeps them together. We'll go around one side first, and then go back to that centre and finish the other side. I am going to pin the markers first before I go further. And I'm also going to snip the seam allowance on the body seam just to kind of release the curve and help me manipulate it. First half done. I find basting really helps keep these curvy seams in their place. We can see the beginnings of a hip curve. It's pushing out already, so we just need to do the same here. Repeat the same steps of pinning the markers and basting the seam. Machine sewing a curve like this will take a bit extra time. Keep pausing to remove pins and adjust the fabric under the foot. Doing one half at a time means you can pause away from the machine to rearrange everything before going back in. When they're both done, you should have something like this. At this point you can sew down the little dart at the front, and then it depends on where you want to go from here. If you want to pop the head on by hand, you'll now take these back seams and sew those up. And then add your base piece. I have a video for that, I'll link on the end cards. If you want to machine sew the head on at the neck, you want to leave this back open. Take the head, which should also be open at the back, and you pin this line up and sew along. The video for that step will also be on the end cards. The bunny pattern is now available to purchase from my Ko-fi shop. My solo stitchers already received this as part of the membership rewards. We work on new patterns every month, so come check that out. Thanks so much for watching, and goodbye!